Hey guys, Fred and Sheila McCoy, Hatfield McCoy Museum, fredmccoy.com. Guys, we done a story a while back. Listen, first of all, today is January the 2nd. Sheila and I went to Logan County, West Virginia yesterday, a 4.5 hour drive one way, to do a video for a friend of ours on her grandfather. And that video will be forthcoming if it's not already out. But we had a good drive up and back. And today's January the 2nd. Now, there was a video came out a while ago and I watched it. It was from a couple of days ago. And man, I get too involved in this. I'm sorry. I apologize. I shouldn't act like that. It's just, it's always been a pet peeve of mine for some reason. The way that people's done, I've just really let it get to me. Now, I'm going to quit that. This is 2024, January the 2nd. I'm going to quit that. Either I'm going to quit doing that or I'm going to quit doing this. I like to get the history out. I like to make corrections because we all need correction. I got corrected yesterday from a friend of mine. And well, I'm still working on it, and I will give him his due just as quick as he's told me what I need to look at and where to go, and I've got to go back to Pike County. So next time I do, I will. Sheila and I will look into it, and I believe he's correct just on what he's showed me with the different birth dates and stuff. I believe he's correct, but before I do that, I want to make sure. Ain't no need correcting something and saying, "Oh wait, I made a mistake." So, we're not beyond making mistakes, and we don't mind a bit. The fellow said, I hate to correct you. We do not mind. We're trying to correct history. We're correcting other people. We don't mind being corrected with proof, with documents, with dates, with, you know the deal. Sheila and I done a video a while back. It was called 12 or 100, I think was the title of it. 12 or 100. How many people was killed during the Hatfield-McCoy feud? And you'll hear stories out there. 100 people, over 100 people. They don't even know the number. There were so many of them killed. No, there was 12 people killed during the feud, attributed to the feud. And talking to a guy yesterday, a historian, he said some of these people out there, they enjoyed that video, but they may have not known who those 12 people was, and they would like to know. That might make you another video. Thank you. You know who you are. Thank you for your encouragement and your request. So here it goes. 12 killed during the feud. Who was the first one killed? 1865. Who was the first person killed? We're saying during the feud. Let's say the first person killed during the Hatfield-McCoy disagreement, argument, hard feelings. This no doubt had something to do with the hard feelings. I'm not going to go into it because I've covered it on every video, but we know that the hard feelings originated in 1863 when Devil Anse deserted. But we're talking about the 12 deaths. So in 1865, who was killed that caused Randall McCoy to have hard feelings towards Devil Anse, Jim Vance, and that bunch when he did get out of being a prisoner of war? Asa Harmon McCoy. Give you a little history on Asa Harmon McCoy, guys. If you ever Google or anything like that, he's the only one that's called Harmon. You'll see several places where they've got Asa McCoy and they've got Harmon. That's people that don't know their history and don't know which Asa they're talking about. Just like William Anderson's, just like Elizabeth's, just like Allen's. There's several different people back in that day that bore the same name. Asa Harmon McCoy was the only one named Harmon. There's several Asa McCoys. Asa Harmon was the only one that his middle name was Harmon, and they called him Asa Harmon. He was killed in 1865, January the 6th. Had been released December the 21st 4th, 1864. He was out of the military. He was free. He was a civilian, and they killed him. That's one. Who was the second person killed? I don't know why I'm looking at the list. I should be able to tell you, but who was the second person killed during the hard feelings of the Hatfield-McCoy feud? Second person. How about, let's talk about 1878. Now, we know there was a pig trial before 1878. There was a pig trial in 1867 where Ellison Hatfield stole 4 pigs. He was found guilty, and he had to pay Asa Peter McCoy. Asa Peter. There's another Asa already we're going to talk about, but Asa Peter McCoy had charged Ellison Hatfield in 1867. But we're not on that. We're on the 12 deaths. So this death here would have been the second death, and it was related, or they tried to say that it was related to the 1878 pig trial. Who was killed in 1880? How about Bill Staten? Bill Staten. All the book writers through the years, they wanted to say that it was related to where Bill Staten had fibbed in the court, and there was hard feelings with the McCoys, and it was just payback. And that's not so. Bill Staten had a bad reputation for drinking, bad reputation for orneriness. And supposedly Squirrel Hunting Sam and Paris McCoy, his brother, were out in the woods hunting. And Bill come through and seen Paris. He didn't see Sam. He saw Paris. He drew a bead down on him. He shot Paris in the back. As soon as he shot Paris, Sam was over to the side there, saw him. He shot and killed Bill Staten. Some people says during this trial, during this court proceeding, really, there's never been a court proceeding document produced. It was always folklore or talk between the families or whatever that this went supposedly before Wall Hatfield, Uncle Wall, West Virginia Wall, Devil Ance's brother Wall. Before he got tied up with Devil Ance, from what they tell me, Wall was a pretty decent fellow, his reputation. He got tied up with Devil Ance and got caught up in murdering those 3 boys at the pawpaw tree, and he knew better. He was justice of the peace. He could have let him went to trial. No doubt he's regretted not letting it go to trial and seeing how that worked out. You know, Devil Ance could have always come back and killed those 3 boys. That wouldn't have been no problem back in that day and time. And with the group of desperados that he had, he could have let it went to trial. Had they not got justice, he could have murdered them then. Probably would have been accepted better, but just to take them out and do like he did. But so anyway, Wall Hatfield was the judge. Evidently, he heard the evidence as far as just what happened, guys. Well, we was out there shooting and squirrel hunting, and shot me in the back. He shows Wall the bullet wound. Sam says, I shot him, before he shot Paris again. Self-defense. It's over with. There's no trial. The third killing. Who was the third person to die in the feud or feud related? Big stories on this one. Big stories. That's him been a pillar of the community. Oh, he was just such a good person. Well, he's the one we just talked about in 1867, stealing the pig from Asa Peter McCoy, and that was Ellison Hatfield. Now, Ellison Hatfield was at the Kentucky election. He was from West Virginia, lived in West Virginia, and he'd come over to the Kentucky election to influence the election, sway the election, whatever you want to call it. He was there, and he started partaking of the moonshine, and he got drunk, just like the rest of them, And after Tolbert and Bad Lice got through fighting over the fiddle and a little bit of money he owed, mostly drunkard stuff, just a couple of drunks, Ellison stood up and said, try that on me. Of course, Tolbert, pride, moonshine, what are you going to do? It was on, and we know the story from there. But Ellison Hatfield was the third person killed during the Hatfield-McCoy arguments, hard feelings, conflict. Now you're getting up now to where we're getting ready to get into the feud. Some people says, when did the feud start? Of course, a lot of book writers, newspapers, they want to say, oh, it started over the pig. They were fighting over a pig. They were fighting over a love affair, fighting over moonshine. All those are contributing factors, but this right here is what started the feud. And that is after the, at least two of the boys, Ellison was beating Tolbert with the rock, was going to kill him. Another blow with the rock, everybody said that he would have killed Tolbert. So rather than that, one of his brothers jumped in, and Palmer, and when he couldn't get him off, he was going to hit him again, he shot him. Now Wilm, the other brother, was there, and Wilm was also young. It was just young boys. Tolbert was a little bit older, but he was just a young man. But when they run off, after they shot and stabbed Ellison, they run off. When they run off, here comes Randall Jr. up. He wants to see what's going on. When he comes up, they grab Randall Jr. as one of the guys, and they grabbed Tolbert and Palmer. So they grabbed Randall Jr. in Wilm's stead, and he was ultimately killed, and him an innocent boy. We're going to talk about him more in a minute. Who was the next three killed during the Hatfield-McCoy feud? Who was the next three killed? That would have been Tolbert, Palmer, Randall Jr. Randall McCoy Jr., the namesake for his father, Randall McCoy. 15 years old. 15 years old. Over the years, when they put the monument on the graveyard, you got to understand this monument came from the Hatfield Monument Company over Sarah Ann. And even though the hard feelings and the feuding and all that's over with, sometimes a lot of West Virginia Hatfields, if you haven't noticed by now, have always tried to take care of their fearless legend over there. Their legend. He's a legend. They've created him into a legend. But anyway, they've tried to take care of Devil Anse. And when they got that McCoy monument to put on Blackberry there, how would it have looked if Randall McCoy Jr. would have shown 15 years old? See, that's way back. That's 1975. 15 years old. So instead of putting 1867, his birthday, they put 1864. 1864. Randall McCoy was prisoner of war in 1864, which, according to what part of 64 he was born, because he wasn't taken prisoner until July of 63, I think it was. And but that's the three McCoy boys. Now, I'm going to tell you, and guys, you know, when I don't know something, and we try to tell you we don't know, or it's not a fact, or it's not proven, or we have no proof, but I've always believed this. I was always told this, and it's as good a way to come up with it as any. Makes sense to us. Always has. You know, when they were online there, Devil Anse, by the time Ellison died, it was a day and a half, 2 days later. And Randall knew by then that he had an innocent boy. He knew they'd got the wrong boy. He's 15 years old. And he was innocent. Not only 15 years old, but he's innocent. Now, Randall, Devil Anse is trying to save face. He's trying to save his reputation. He's just, I ain't gonna say big bad guy. He's a little bad guy. And he wants to keep his reputation and all this and that, but he don't really want to kill the 15-year-old boy. He tells everybody who to shoot on that line there. And they shoot, and they shoot and shoot and shoot. And when they're done, there's two of them dead. And that was Tolbert and Palmer. Randall McCoy Jr. is still alive. Devil Anse was such a manipulator and such an instigator, and so he was smooth. You got to give it to him. He was tactful. He was, I don't know how you, cunning. But they had killed the other two brothers. Devil Anse didn't want to kill the 15-year-old innocent boy. So Devil Anse walks up to Randall McCoy Jr., the 15-year-old boy, dead brother on each side of him, slumped over, riddled with bullets. And he tells Randall Jr., get on your knees and beg, and I'll let you live. get on your knees and beg and I'll let you live. I don't know how we got on all this from trying to tell you 12 people, but we're going to get there. Randall McCoy supposedly, look, I wasn't there, guys. I wasn't there. But from the time a person knee-high to a grasshopper, this has been the story. And you know, some stories are so blown out of proportion, you know they're fake. Some you might, well, it might be true. And then some are probably true. Randall McCoy seen his two brothers laying there bleeding, Tolbert's head blown off, and he looks at Devil Anse and said, to hell with you, Devil Anse Hatfield, or Anse Hatfield, or Hatfields, to hell with you. And Devil Anse turned to walk away, and when he did, he pulled his pistol and turned around and shot the young boy square in the head. Square in the head, blowed his head off. He goes, gets back on his horse, crosses the river. He's going back to West Virginia. The story is that all the guys that was back there on the line that had been shooting at the other two boys, Cap Hatfield looked at Johnson and said, damn, that's the real McCoy. That was a real McCoy. Something to that effect. And that supposedly is how the name, the real McCoy. Now I know in history they say, oh, this person came up with it, this person. You can Google it. There's several different, and they may very well be the true ones. I don't know. I wasn't there. But that sounds about like one of Randall McCoy's boys, and it sounds about like anybody. That sounds about like anybody that looks and sees their two brothers dead, and you've done been preparing to die for 2 days now, and they've been telling you what they're going to do to you. Okay, let's move on. Who died in 1886? Who was the next person killed in the Hatfield-McCoy feud? 1886. How about Jeff McCoy? How about the first one killed's son? Jeff McCoy, Asa Harmon McCoy's son, had been to West Virginia to see his sister, Nancy. That's when she was married to Johnsy. And he's on his way back. Some confusion, there's some rumors, they're saying that Nancy's given Jeff information on where the Hatfields are hiding, that Jeff's the carrier, he's going back and forth and getting information from Nancy that she's getting from Johnsy about the Hatfields, like she was a spy. I think Nancy harbored some harsh feelings towards the West Virginia Hatfields, and especially the more she was around them, maybe the more she's seen how things were done, and she could relate to how they had killed her father. Again, she was in her mother's belly at the time. She wasn't born. But they killed Jeff McCoy. Now, Jeff McCoy had in fact, there's an indictment warrant. We've got a warrant on him somewhere on one of these walls, but he had actually killed Fred Wolford. Whether it was a fair fight, whether it was murder, who knows? They put a warrant out for him, but that was just to bring him up on the charges. Let's see what happened in court. He claimed it was self-defense, that Fred Wolford had pulled a knife on him or something like that. We don't know. We wasn't there. Guys, sorry, I was going to tell you where we was at here. We're in front of my casket. For those of you that's new viewers, she's been getting some new viewers lately. And this is my casket, and this is what I'll be in someday. And I figured what better place to do something on death than in front of a casket. And there's my shirt laying in there. My pants are in the bottom. My buddy owns a funeral home. When I die, he's going to pick me in that casket up and take me to the graveyard, and we'll be finished. Who was the next two killed? 1888. If you get this one wrong, oh, I have to get all over you. Everybody knows who these two are. Who died in 1888? Two more Randall McCoy's children, Sarah's. How about Alifair and Calvin? Calvin and Alifair, two more killed. How about 1888 again? How about January the 6th for, I'm sorry, how about January the 8th? January the 8th for Jim Vance. Jim Vance was one of them. And then Bill Dempsey was killed at the Battle of Grapevine a few days later. Bill Dempsey and Jim Vance, they were killed. The Kentucky posse had the warrants. They had Frank Phillips, the governor, had sworn in as a state law enforcement officer of Kentucky. At that time, there was no extradition. There was no, you just went and got who you wanted. Now, after they went and got those 9, the other 9 they arrested and brought back, they filed a suit, went all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says you can't do that no more. You can't go to one state from another and take citizens back. You can't do that. That's illegal. You got to have a extradition warrant, extradition proceedings between the 2 governors. And it changed then. After that, the McCoys didn't go get no more Hatfields. That's why, or none of the police department, because West Virginia would not deliver Devil Anse, Cap Hatfield, Robert Hatfield, Elliot Hatfield. There's a couple more. Ellison, can't remember his name, but there's a few more. They went to their graves with Kentucky warrants on them. They got away with murder. And the last one, number 12. Who's the number 12 person killed during the Hatfield-McCoy feud? Who was the person that was killed that ended the feud? The feud ended with this one. It ended as far as the killings, the going into West Virginia, so forth like that. Coming to Kentucky, burning cabins down. It ended. Who ended it? Who did it end with? Ellison, Cotton Top, Hatfield. Ellison, Cotton Top, Hatfield. And you know, through the years, that's the 12 guys. That's the 12 of them. And there they are, if you can see that. You know, through the years, because Harriet got married to a Mounts. Harriet is Cotton Top's mother. And she gave him, in order to save face around the neighborhood, she gave Cotton Top Mounts' name. For those of you that don't know, and that's why he was simple-minded. That's why he was, Sheila don't like me using this word. Well, I won't use it, but it's, he's special. He was special. And back in my day, we used to call it, no offense, man. It's just, I don't know why everything went politically correct words. I mean, it means retarded. Back when I was growing up in school, you didn't mean nothing by it when you called somebody retarded. Now, I know bullies and people like that can go around and have other names out of that, but that was to signify, just like somebody with dementia or anything else, you say they were retarded. And all of a sudden that became a bad word later on. Now you have to say special or special needs or simple-minded or whatever. It means the same thing. It don't mean nothing derogatory when I use that word. I don't understand this political correctness. But I don't understand. If you all know me, you know me by now, you know I don't understand a lot of things that I question. Can't change them, but you can question them. Ellison was the product, Ellison Cotton Top, was the product of Big Ellison Hatfield, 5'10". You know, they say big man, huge man. Well, he must have been huge out here because he was only 5 foot 10 inches tall. And that's to his Civil War records. He was a product of Ellison Hatfield and Ellison's first cousin, Harriet Hatfield. Harriet was the daughter of John Hatfield. John Hatfield was the father of Harriet and pig-stealing Floyd Hatfield. So Harriet and Floyd were brothers and sisters. And Ellison and her had an affair. Supposedly, according to Hatfield, I mean, this comes from Hatfield family members that we've talked to over the years and other, if you want to call it that, books that families has written. I ain't gonna go there. Let's don't go down that. But they at least had one child. And that's why, guys, and I don't want to harp on it much, but that's why we ask for DNA. Especially back in that day, and especially with certain family members. That's why the history's so confused. So when these people stand up and say they're this or they're that or they're related to this one or that one, but refuse to take a DNA test, that should tell you something. I mean, if you want the publicity, if you want the notoriety of saying that you represent this family or that family, take a DNA and let's see your history. That way there's no doubt. I mean, I hope it is what you say it is. And if it is, that's great. Then that takes care of that. Mark that off my list. Now, here's something I just threw in earlier. Sheila and I was talking up there. Other loved ones Randall lost during the feud. You know, Randall McCoy lost 5 of his kids right there. 3 at the tree and 2 at the cabin. How about Sarah McCoy? Sarah died from the wounds that she sustained from the cabin beating. She didn't die right then. She died within a year of the wounds that she received from that cabin beating and bashing in her brain. How about Cora? Little Cora McCoy. That was my mother's name, Cora. But little Cora, which was Tolbert's daughter. How about her? How about Rosanna in 1889? How about Wilm McCoy? Wilm McCoy was the brother that was actually trying to pull Ellison off. He was involved in the fight. He didn't shoot, he didn't stab, he just trying to pull him off, but he was the guilty party of being the 3rd brother. He was only 17 or 18, but he felt so bad. He felt so bad, so guilty, because his brother Randall Jr. was killed in his place. He stayed up there by that grave where they buried the 3 brothers at. He stayed up there by their grave. And he stayed there and he stayed there, wouldn't eat, wouldn't do nothing. He froze to death. He finally froze to death. You got to remember, this was August. You had September, October, November, December. You got some cold weather there. So he finally froze to death and he died. And he's buried up there. That's the 6 kids that's buried on that hill up there at John Vance's. They've now labeled it, certain people have, the Forbidden Cemetery. It was never forbidden before Ron McCoy and Bo McCoy from Georgia and North Carolina, because they had that McCoy name and wasn't some publicity coming there and filed a suit against John Vance wanting to control his property to make a commercialization out of it, run a tour bus. John Vance didn't want to charge nobody. He didn't care who come to see the grave, but he didn't want nobody charging people to see him. Admirable of them. Other Hatfield gang members that died or that was feud related. How about Tom Wallace? How about Valentine Wall Hatfield? How about Shepard, Captain Shepard Hatfield? We discussed him a while back in a video. How about little Shep? He died because he starved to death, malnutrition, because of the feud. It was related to the feud because his father was on the run out west trying to hide from the warrants, and he died from it. So there's the parties, there's the 12, and there's the other loved ones of Randall, and then there's 3 more of the Hatfields. So remember, Devil Anse Hatfield never lost one sibling, one descendant, one son or daughter. He never lost one child to the feud, to the McCoys, from doing anything like that. Guys, Fred and Sheila McCoy, thanks for joining us. Sheila, do the closing.
Hi guys, hope you're having a great morning. Please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.